right, good morning. Happy Sunday. Back to doing some game dev and looking at our course, if you will, kind of our what we're working on, kind of starting from making a Pong game, Breakout, Minesweeper, and now a basic platformer. Excuse me. And then I think maybe one more practice game, and then we'll probably start working on this game that I've been thinking about for a long time. Because I think we'll have kind of touched on all the things that I need to have some knowledge of before we can get started. Okay, so for the platformer, what do we got going on? I think so the camera stuff we got sorted out. We found a nice add-on that provides a nice tracking the player character on screen. I'll do it this way, so but when the but not following until the player gets kind of towards the edge of the screen, sort of thing. And it had a bunch of other features, right, that we haven't used yet. Figured out how to add parallax. Added a basic NPC that can give us a sword. We got some 2D lights and shadows going on. So not much effect yet because it's not like it's a dark scene, but just like figuring out how to do it at all. And then dialogue, right? So we got that dialogic add-on that looks pretty cool and seems to be kind of what I want to do for the sort of at least for the game I want to eventually make. I think it'll be very helpful. And then that leaves us with 3 things for the platformer. And again, this is not, I'm not trying to make like a full game or a real game or a polished game. There we go. Right? I'm not trying to do everything. I'm trying to focus on how would I apply these things with Godot for these types of games, and it's less about the game, and it's more about using these different kinds of games as opportunities to practice these different things and learn about them and dig into them and think about how they would be applied, right? And I think a good example of that is thinking about like the level map with progression and saving, right? Where these things are going to be very different, potentially between different games. And so like this is something I've actually been thinking of the last couple of days of like, what did we do? What do we want to do? Right? So here's Godot. And the way just launch the game, right? So I think the way that this is working right now is that when we go into the game, we have a little, we're using some free art, right? For our world map. And some free art for our level, right? And what we're doing right now is I think we are deleting the other scene, right? So if we go over here to remote, we have a main scene and we have the game. So the game here is essentially that level. Because I've just called it game here. Called it, well, I don't know what scene is. Where's the scene? Not in UI. Scenes. Game, right? So this could be like level 1. I just called it game because we started with building the platformer level. But yeah, anyway, so the thing is though, is that there's 2 things that I'm thinking about. Oh, there's something in the sky there. I think that's maybe that's the origin point. Probably have something turned on that lets us see that. Okay, that's what it was. What was it saying? So one of the things, let's see. Oh yeah. Let's end game. There we go. New game. So conceptually, with this, I would want this to, if I go into the portal and it takes me into the level, there's some kind of win condition in the level, and I come back to this scene, right? And when I come back to this scene, I come back, well, probably right at the entrance, right? Currently, that's not implemented. I think that should be implemented, though, for one. So that, going back here, right? So that's level map with progression. Return to same location. Like I said, although camera's in the way. Return to same location on map, right? So we can complete a level, we can come back to the map. That is something I think I had in past streams and talking about this, been conflating with saving persistence, I think, yeah, right? So in the context of this game, what does saving look like? Saving probably is well, currently, since we don't have like the concept of like, oh, let me save the game or saves or any of that sort of stuff, saving is probably something that should happen either on an ongoing basis, or it should happen automatically when certain things happen, or it should happen when you exit the game. Probably not the latter, or probably not just the latter, because, well, what if the game crashes? So then there's the question of, do you have like separate saves for your game, or is it essentially this is the timeline, right? So we'll look at that. We'll figure out what to do about that. But I think first we'll work a little bit on, let's at least make it so that you can complete the level, right? So it's already possible now. We can go in here, we can avoid the slime, we can talk to this guy, take the sword, and then we can eventually take care of the slime, right? And so we won, right? There's no other enemies. We can't yeah. Theoretically, I could make it so the NPC was like said something else here if the slime is defeated. We could do that. I believe it. But yeah, that's what we should do. Let's exit out of here, and let's figure out a win condition for our level. So if I open up this scene, I think, wow, a lot of debugger lines. What's going on here? Node not found camera 2D relative to root main game. Interesting. Is this significant? I mean, it works, so I don't know. All right, so what do we want to do? So we got all these background nodes. We'll hide. I'm gonna rename this to level 1. I don't think that's gonna break anything. Let's test that before we do anything else. Whenever we make a change and it's like, oh, this is a trivial change, it shouldn't break anything. Well, let's just make sure that that's the case. Yeah, cool. All right, in the game. Okay. So we have our NPCs, we have our enemies, we have our player. What is the... So we have a script on the enemy. And that's supposed to open VS Code and take us to the file, but it didn't. What's up with that? Let me just close VS Code. Huh. Oh, no? Did I break my editor integration? Let's see. Editor, file system, text editor, external. Would we believe? Maybe let's just save and restart. I didn't change anything, but maybe something needs to be changed there. One of the things I came across a video, and it was mentioning that you can customize these items up here. So you can see there's no longer a 3D button here. And I saw it, and I didn't really note how to control it. But I did eventually find, by clicking around through menus, where this was. So what you have to do is you have to create a profile in this Manage Editor Feature profile. And then you're able to unclick features. So I disable the 3D editor and script editor, which maybe this is why. Maybe. Let's see. So if I click here, yeah, okay. So apparently that does more than just show the tab. That is the whole feature. These bots. What bot? All right. Now if I click this, yay. Okay, so currently, when the enemy dies, there's this die function. How does this work? So we have a player script. And what it does is it checks to see if the thing that the sword hits has a die method or a take damage method, and it calls it. I guess. I mean, there's different things we could do, right? So the easiest thing to do would be, what? So something somewhere needs to be responsible for restoring, let's say, the world map scene and getting us back there, and basically unloading the level, showing some kind of like, you win something, you know, those sorts of things, right? Getting us out of the level and back to the world. And that something has to be triggered. And yeah. So presumably, if we go back to the main scene, like that feels like something that is there. What's there in game menu? Game menu has a start and pause screen. So we don't have like a you win type scene here. I think there might be a separate scene that we imported. Not here. But, guess not. I think maybe that didn't make it into the template. So, how's this gonna work? How is this gonna work? So we have a level manager, game manager. That's right. Right, which has some leftovers of like the whole like high scores configuration. And hey, look, there's game over signal, enter level signal. I think we're using Are we using interlevel somewhere? Is this warning a lie? Well, yes. So what we're doing is we're saying that the world player entity can emit the signal off of Game Manager, and then the main script is responsible for handling it. Hey, and we have a game over, which calls on Game Manager game over, which is here. So I think what we want to do is we want to take this over and we want to make this do something else, right? So I think nothing currently emits the game over signal. Is that true? Yes. So send the player back to the world map, which I think we can do, right? So we have, just ignore Copilot for a minute. I want to think first. So we have a world map instance, we have a level instance. What we want to do is we want to get rid of the level instance. We want to put the world map instance back. What we're doing now, and I think the thing we need to change, is that when we enter a level, we are currently deleting the world map instance. And I think we want to not do that. Instead, we want to just remove it from the scene. So I think what we need to do is we need to say something like get tree. Yeah, that. Right? We don't want to delete it. This is thinking about application state, right? So we have state, potentially, probably, in the world map. I think that there's at least two ways of doing this, right? One way would be to do what we already had of deleting the world map, and then we reinstantiate that scene, and we give this code the ability to move the player to the right place. The other way of doing it is to do this change. I think the issue is going to be when I do this. Let me just finish the thought. Right? Okay. So here we're going to remove world map instance from the scene, and then we are going to here see if there's a level instance. If there is, we're going to delete it. We're not going to keep the level instance because the player can go to multiple levels. When we say game over, that means we're done with that level and we don't need to persist any information from it. Hello, Delusive Mackie. That is an interesting message that you sent me, considering we are on day 15 of using Godot. How's it going? And who is we? So, I guess it shouldn't really be possible for world map instance to be null by the time we get here. Let's do an assert. Well, this is a lie. Assert that it's not equal to null. Okay, and then we don't do this. I don't know what Copilot is very obsessed with deleting the world map. We want to say get tree current scene add child world map instance, right? So we're going to add the world map instance back to the scene tree. So nothing emits game over right now. So continuing the thought that I had before we went on this tangent of like making this change. In the enemy, when the slime dies, we can do something like game manager, game over.emit, and we'll say the player did win if the slime died. Yeah, even if it should be, well, it shouldn't be null. Yeah, shouldn't be. Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's good. I mean, so I think this message could be better in terms of, hold on, let me get a little bit more screen space. This message I think could be, this should be like world map instance should never be cleared once the game starts, but was null here. Right, so we just give some actual clues. That's why I'm asserting that it's not equal to null, because the only way to get to game over is for you to have first, as a player, been on the world map, gone into a level, and then won the level. So if you did that, then the world map instance should not be null, right? And world map instance starts as null, and we don't set the world map instance until... Yeah, I think I'm still good with this. So when we start the game, like when you click the start game on the main menu, this code is run. And this is where we instantiate the world map from the packed scene and add it to the current scene. Is this the right thing to do? Get tree current scene. I mean, this script is attached to the main node. Actually, let's try something here. So if I run this, and we'll look at the remote scene tree. All right, so when we get here, so yeah, world map is just under main anyway. So that is probably redundant to, like, this could just be add child. And all these places. Did I get them all? I think so. All right. So I think this is going to have a problem. Right, so we're going to go into the level. We'll defeat the slime, and then it's going to kick us back. Just also ignore the just complete discontinuity between the art between these two things, because it's just for practice. Oh. Okay, slime died, and then what happened? Oh, right. So this is exactly what I suspected, which is that we went back, we reloaded the, we re-added the world map to the scene tree, and immediately started this level again, which is a problem. So... So the first thing that comes to mind is, let's look at the world map scene. Right, so if the player entered the level by walking into this area, hitting the collider on the tile, which we can see. How does any of this work? It's is it details? No, foregrounds. Which level has? Oh, it is details. There we go. So we have a custom data layer, and we have a physics layer. Physics layer 2 is our It's on collision layer 9, and that's what is hooked up to. We ran to the map, but as state isn't. Yeah. Well, I don't know. So one thought that I had was that when we re-add the world map, we move the player out of the way, like somehow, some way, move the player so that they're no longer colliding with this. I guess the other thing we could do is we could, do something. Change this tile. Right, so this tile here that is using, where are we? Ah, there we are. Currently we're using this. Right, so how do I do things again? Oh yeah, it's in the tile set, right? I have to see that in the tile set. And then we go over here, and I go to select, and then we can see the data and the physics on this tile. So if I wanted to make it so that once the player has beat the level, one, they can't re-enter, and two, when they come back into the world, they don't automatically go back in, which is also they can't enter. I guess what I could do is I could just change this tile, right, to be a different tile. So that's an option. That's a kind of a clean option. I think I would need to remember the tile coordinate, or whatever the name of the pair of integers to represent this tile, right? I could remember that when the player enters the level, and then use that to go back and change the tile. We just clear it, I guess. You know, in practice, we could do something where we have some kind of tile, some animated tile, right? That's like it's collapsing, that doesn't have the collider or the level data on it. But we have this tile map layer here for the details, right? So we can just clear that tile, and we'll just have the normal terrain. And we're like, what level? That was never there. All right. So that seems like it will at least fix the current problem. So to do that, we have some more information we want to save. So we have a var world map level. Names are hard. Entrance tile location, which I guess that should be a vector2i, but we'll start null. Can't do that. Yes, we can. No, we can't. So like we have a no2d type, but it starts as null. We can't have a vector2i. It's actually just null. Interesting. Because it's a native class? No, this also is. Gameplay wise, what could be done? Add an action button to initialize load level. Add a collision trigger outside the loading zone to trigger active state of the loading zone. Add collision trigger outside of the loading zone to trigger active state of the loading zone, keep it up and whatnot. Oh yeah, sure. So have something where, in order to trigger the activation of this, you have to walk through something first. The downside of, like, what we're doing right now is really nice and neat, right? Because what we can do is we can say, hey, I basically have a collision mask, you know, on this physics layer too, for the entrance, right? And so it's very simple to say, because it's on a specific collision layer, so I can have the world map player. Let's see, how does that work? So we look at the world map player, and it is on. Is the area 2D here? Yeah, this area 2D is masked on layer 9, and then there's a signal connection to on level entrance entered, which is calling on this script, and this can just read the tile map layer and can find the custom data, right? I guess you could do that kind of multi-zone thing even with this. You would need another. Let's see, how do we get back to here? Yeah, tile set. You would need maybe another collision layer to have, like, you have to pass through. I don't know, maybe. I kind of like the entrance disappears after approach to it. That you know, assumes that you can only ever, like, beat a level once, right? And my North Star, if you will, and again, this is a practice game, right? So, like, gameplay wise, what I am pursuing is whatever is going to let me practice things, but in kind of a, like, Super Mario World style. Like there's overworld. Obviously, this one does not have, like, predefined paths. You can wander around wherever, but I think it's okay to, like, okay, you can go to a level and then you can beat it, and then you can't go in. Can you revisit levels that you've beaten? And I guess you can, can't you? Well, anyway, question: is the level once beatable or multiple? That is the question. That is the question. I think for simplicity right now, I'm gonna say it's just beatable once. What would it look like? What would it look like if it was enterable multiple times? How hard would that be to do? Because I feel like what your suggestion, yeah, if once just disable entrance, yeah. If it's enterable multiple times, like what you're suggesting of, like, having a trigger, as you approach it, and then, like, multi-layer thing, so that going in, like, the carrot here, let's just I can't really simulate it because the player will activate it, but, like, the player walks in, there's a directionality component, right? Whereas if you're walking out, then you don't trigger it. Is there another way? Is there another way of doing that? I think was your question. I guess the other way of doing it would be just to move the player, right? To, like, kick them out of the area of the tile. And so what we could probably do is just have, what we could do here is have another custom data layer that would be like, hey, move the player on exit. And it would be like a vector 2i. And it would be like, here's how much you need to move the player to kick them out of where they are. Let's do that. I think that's more interesting. And it will be helpful from a debugging perspective, because we'll be able to try it over and over without the without having to reload the game. So we'll add another custom data layer here, and we'll call it player move on return. Okay. And then what that's going to let me do is that on the tile set, I can come down here to custom data. And what I want to do is I want to move the player some amount. Y, right? X, Y. So we're going to move them down, I don't know, 32? Save that really quick. And then how's this going to work? See, when we call add child to a node, does something get triggered on the node? I think so. There's like a callback for when something is added to a scene tree, right? I guess the world map doesn't have a script though. The world map player does. Let's see. But we can attach to a signal, right? Child entered tree. Emitted when, hold on. Emitted when the child node enters the scene. Okay, now. Tree entered. Emitted when the node enters the tree. Right? So we could hook onto this signal into our world map player. And do some stuff here, right? I think so. I think I'm going to do one more thing. I think I'm going to add a piece of state to world player to be like, hey, the last thing I did was I entered a level, and then we'll add a condition here, right? So that if I have previously entered a level, I won't do this stuff. Just because I'm not sure about the order of events. Like, I think probably I guess let's just try it, right? So let's connect this signal to world map player. And let's just print, yeah, some text, and we'll see which one fires first. Presumably this will fire, and then this. I guess the question is, are we going to be able to do stuff here that's going to change what happens here? So let's think about that. Do we have hooks on? No, we don't have. Let's do on ready var details map layer. What's it actually called? Terrain details. How do I spell terrain? Yes. Okay. So then I guess I still Actually, I think I need to do this a different way. Not wholly different, but I think I need to remember the tile map coordinates and layer. Or just the tile data. can I just keep the tile data? Yeah. And then I can look at that here. Yes, I think so. So then I don't need this because I don't need to look up that anymore. So we say var level entrance tile data. Tile data. If I don't set it to null, can I just do this? Yeah. What do we think? Is it better just to like not assign it a value? Presumably that means this will be null. Or is it better to like explicitly set it to null there? And then instead of creating a variable, we're just going to save. There you go. Copilot can rename all the rest. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's fine. And then what we want to do is get the amount to move the player from the tile data. Yeah, I guess, you know, move to position is a better name. I'm gonna grab that. And more concise name, right? So let's see, how bad is it to rename? That, and then we go to tile sets, and yeah, it's still okay. That wasn't bad. It didn't like you know, have some floating data and then a blank for move to position. Cool. All right, so back to the script. So we're gonna say, hey, if there's level entrance tile data and it has move to position, then we get move to position from that custom data. And then we're not doing that, or are we? So position.x. Now position plus equals. Can we do that? And we just move the player, right? Ourselves, right? We're the player. We're listening to when the world map is added back to the scene tree. Presuming that when that happens, we are being, well, I guess there's two possibilities, right? One is that the world map is just loaded, in which case we probably, as the world player, maybe don't exist yet. I don't know. I think this might work, so let's just try it. I think one possibility is that I did not move the player far enough. Another possibility is the order of events doesn't work out, where, well, at least that part worked. Let's beat the slime, and then we'll go from there. Yay! So that worked. 32 is probably too much, and I think we should change the direction the player is facing based on the direction of the movement of the move to position. Right, so maybe this should only be like 16, and then in the script, let's see. How do I want to do this? So I feel like Now I can't just necessarily extract this, because the way this works is this works off of persistence of the current direction suffix. I think what I want to do is I want to take this code, or parts of this code, and we're gonna... Do I want to play the walk animation? Maybe. Ooh. Yeah, so I can't just set velocity, because we need to get the player out of the zone of the collision. I can't just set velocity. I could set velocity. To be move to position. Like that. Now, that means the player's going to move to, is going to appear on a spot and be moving. You know, at least a little bit. So they're not going to stop at the exact spot that the coordinate here says, but that might look good. All right, let's do this again. I don't know. It didn't look like they moved, but sure. We're free and clear, and then we can enter again. And we don't have the sword again because we, you know, working on a new instance of the level. Ah, but it doesn't think so. Yeah. Do I already have your sword? All right. So, interesting. So there's state in the dialogue. Hold on. So the dialogic state is separate from, it's not inside of the level. So isn't there... I thought it might be in here. Variable folder? No. Maybe I get a dialogic. Right, so we set a variable. Has sword to give. And I guess those variables are... constant states? No, that's not it. I was kind of hoping that I could see the variables at runtime. But I don't know how to do that. Current state info? No, that's all internal stuff. So, when the level unloads, do we need to reset something? Maybe. Let's stop. Go back to 2D. Okay, so level 1. We have a script. Is when we do on game reset, do we need to reset the dialogue? Not sure. Or maybe So in here, we emit interlevel. Do we want to? First of all, I'm gonna remove the score stuff for now. I don't really intend on using that. Do we want to make it so that interlevel? Where, if anywhere, are we referencing Dialogic? All right, so Dialogic has an auto load. Let's see, can I just ignore add-ons? Okay. And in the NPC, we have some stuff here. And then the player, when the player dies, we end the timeline.
Yeah.
Seems appropriate. But I guess we want to... Although, honestly, probably will... Oh, actually, yeah, here's what we want to do. We want... If we die, we don't want to set up game. We want to, game over. Yeah. Yeah. Now, in our main scene, one of the things we can do is when we game over... we want to reset the dialogue timeline. Yeah, sure. Something like that. Is that a real thing? Yes. Do we actually need to check that though? Probably not. Let's just do this. Brainless, hello. How goes it? Alright, so the question is, after I re-enter the level, after I beat the slime, which I did eventually do, and I re-enter the level, I don't have the sword anymore, but I can hopefully talk to the NPC and get his sword again. Which I guess the question is that... No, it didn't work. So ending the timeline there did not do the thing. I think we have to do something else. Is there like a reset? Nope. Freezing, but all is good. Oh no. Heating issues? Or just... something else? How am I? Doing good. Doing good. I think, probably play some more RimWorld. I have a different run than the one I was streaming that I'm doing some things on. And then probably, hopefully, more RimWorld on Friday. But on stream, that is. I have tomorrow off of work, and I'll probably try to get some yard work done in the morning before it warms up. And speaking of, you said, I just woke up, haven't turned on the heater yet, so my room is an iceberg. Oh no. Alright, how can we reset? Began a fresh RimWorld run on the new scenario. Seems interesting. Yes. I also, I think I'm on my third attempt at a run on the new, the grab ship scenario, which I did do. Basically, what I am doing is what I wanted to do with the other run in terms of where I wanted to get it to with the custom ideology, but I just made a fixed ideology with blood feeder and a few other things. Um, and after some false starts, I think it's going pretty well. The difference being that if you don't start with a grav ship scenario, you can get a grav ship after doing a little bit of research, and then you're not being constantly chased by mechs, which has a nice effect. I mean, either way, of like if you get a raid that you don't want to deal with, if your grav ship is ready, you can just leave. You can flee. And that's quite nice. So there's in timeline, but that doesn't seem to do what I want. So I can see clear, and there are clear flags. That load full state is interesting. I'm just trying to see if there is a... Ooh. Oh yeah, see, clear, keep variables is the issue. Is there... So I have to call clear myself. All right, well, Twitch is going to want to run some ads, so I'm going to take a break here, and I'll be back in a few minutes. I think I uncovered a bug on Elixir's live book. It's been 3 hours yesterday trying to figure it out, but it's too low level for my understanding. Oh, no. Maybe someday I'll give Elixir another try. I've had some other people talk up Elixir, but it doesn't really mesh with the game dev stuff right now. So someday in the future, but I'll be right back.